Fichi Linane and welcome to Embrace Therapy podcast. I am a practicing art therapist based in Ireland. In each episode, I will interview guests from various fields of therapy and well-being with the aim to encourage healing through embracing therapy. My guest this week is Kerry Walker. She is an accredited forest therapy guide and apprentice trainer and mentor with the Forest Therapy Institute. She is also a qualified art therapist with an interest in working with clients outdoors in nature. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Kerry Walker. But, I was looking at the training that you're doing in March in Galway. Is it Galway you're doing it?
There's two trainings. Well, for the forest school, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, there's one in Galway and in Killarney. So I'm bringing one. So there's two here in Killarney, one in March and one in April. Yeah. And it's amazing because, I started in forest school 5 years ago and it was so new in Ireland. It was the first training in the West. The training was very small and now they fully book in days because, it's really the ethos of taking children outside in nature and the outdoors. And, teachers and schools are realizing this is the way forward. So we have principals contacting us now. We train, there's one school in Galway, the 4 teachers are fully trained in forest schools. So every Tuesday the school goes out in forest school. It's part of their education, so it connects with the curriculum. Our forest school chair is doing her PhD on the pedagogy of forest school and Irish curriculum because we're actually connected. So if you look at the principles of the Irish primary school curriculum, they're the same as Irish forest school curriculum principles, so it's really interesting. They're definitely connected.
And they should be,
they should be. So when I approach schools to take the kids out, I say, look, we're doing maths, we're doing art, we're doing science, we're doing PE, we're doing everything in a 2-hour session in the outdoors without even trying. It just happens, So it's all child-led.
It's lovely. It reminds me just a tiny bit, that segment of the Steiner school. Do you know the Steiner schools?
Yeah.
Just that idea of being out in nature. And I loved that aspect of the Steiner schools. It's just gorgeous.
All art and nature. That's where children thrive and it's their language,
Yeah, it really is. Play, that is in every fiber of our being. We just need to play.
Every fiber. And unfortunately, as adults, we just don't play anymore. When I go out in the woods with adults, there's just this glimmer of oh, can we play? I'm of course we can play. And it's so funny. Some people haven't played in 20 years, and when we start playing, something happens with us. It's just this beautiful lightness that it's unfortunately being suppressed through society, really.
Yeah, for sure. So you're down in Killarney now, and
in Beaufort,
in the woods.
In the woods and mountains, so the Gap of Dunlow, so just right in the foothill of the beautiful mountains. It's lovely.
Amazing. And do you do walks around in that area as well, or is that something that you're kind of just keeping for yourself?
No, I do walks in the Killarney National Park, so I do my forest bathing walks there, and I do forest therapy walks in Tralee at the moment, and then forest school in Milltown, which is a little town but 10 minutes from here. So I'm kind of taking over the little area south around me.
Why not?
Why not?
It has so much to offer, so why not?
Why not?
So it's a wellness through nature, is your approach. And
it's the nature hub I have. It's called the Nature Hub. Wellness through nature was the start of something, and then it kind of turned into the Nature Hub. So it's a platform for connecting adults and children through different practices for health and well-being, for social, for physical growth, development. There's forest school, and then forest bathing, and then forest therapy. There's 3 different practices that I'm offering at the moment.
Okay, well, let's look at each individual one. I'm sure that they overlap in some ways, but what? Because I know myself that forest bathing is something that I tend to do. So I go out to Donaghadee Woods, which isn't too far from me, and I'm lucky enough Castletown as well is just this beautiful part, and I just let me and my dog just go. We just go nuts, and I just lose time. Time just disappears. But can you say maybe a definition of what forest bathing is to the people that
sure. It's funny that losing time, I think, is a big part of it. We call that liminal space. So really when when we get into that mode, a lot can happen. So yeah, forest bathing, it's quite new in Ireland now, but we're training. We have about 20 forest bathing guides now in Ireland, but it started in the 80s in Japan, and Japan had the highest stress rate in the world, and they also had about 60 to 70% forest coverage. So the forest agency developed this practice to bring people. It was more geared towards businessmen, because they were just completely stressed out. So they would bring them into the forest, and quite simply just allow them to connect with their five senses. So what can they see in the forest? What can they hear? What can they smell? What textures can they touch? And then look at taste. What can we taste from the forest? So it started in the 80s, and then they just did lots of research. Having a practice in Japan is great because they were really into the research, and so what they would, everything was recorded, and they were really trying to get data. And they were just seeing that our blood pressure was completely lowered or completely balanced if it was maybe lower blood pressure. And stress levels were completely lowered, alleviates depression. There was all these benefits coming up. And now they have over 60 designated forests in Japan that are actually for forest bathing. So it's really, I think it's about 10 million euros this year alone just on looking at the forest bathing research. So yeah, there's so many benefits, and one of the main benefits is a lovely thing I love to know. And when you're walking in the forest, like trees excrete this certain chemical, a phytoncide, like it's a terpene. So it's if they get attacked by insects, they release this chemical to protect themselves and to get rid of the insects. But it's a really good chemical for humans to inhale, and it's like a natural aromatherapy. So this phytoncide increases our natural killer cells, which is like a white blood cell to fend off cancer and other illnesses. So they say that just by walking in the forest, inhaling these aromas, it's just so good for. And they say that even after a month, our natural killer cells are increased for up to a month after a walk in the forest. So it's really got long-term benefits. So this is one of the great things by walking, but also it's by slowing down. So we can do forest bathing, of course, on our own, like you say, with your dog, but it really helps to have a guide, because what the guide does is supports the participants to slow down. Because a lot of people, when I see people walking, they have their phones, or they're really distracted, or they're thinking of things. So as a guide, we would bring people on like a 2 to 3 hour walk, and it's really about going through stages. So we go into the walk, we do an introduction, we do sharing, so we each have a chance to share, which I think is lovely. So it's, especially now, it's this community and this socializing, I think is really important. So we're really sharing a little bit about our connection to nature. And then we do invitations, so different invitations to connect with our senses. So maybe I'll invite people to go and sit with the tree and see what comes up for them, or see what colors can they find in nature, what textures can they find, and bring them back. And it's a really simple, gentle practice, but really profound. People afterwards say they sleep much better, they feel much more relaxed. They feel, a big one that's come out is they feel more creative. I had a woman recently said she can smell so much more than she's ever smelled in her life. Her sense of smell has really increased. So it's just lovely hearing the benefits that are happening for people. So and that's the forest bathing. And then the forest therapy is implementing the forest bathing practice, but in a more therapy based scale. So we do interventions from 6 weeks up with mental health organizations, people living with certain illnesses, people with certain disabilities. So it's working alongside an organization. So I just finished a 6-week intervention on stress and anxiety in Tralee. So yeah, there's lots of scope and a lot more, I think, vocabulary and literacy coming out with the terms of forest bathing. So people are really more connected or aware, or know they need it.
It's incredible. Like I'm just like, I'm blown away by it. And to think that this is something that really has been going for so long, like 30 odd, nearly 40 years, like that's incredible. Like that. And of course the Japanese, of course, like, I'm not surprised by that.
Even before that, I mean, this is something as humans live with. It wasn't even a practice. Like my grandparents didn't need to go on a forest bathing walk. They lived, and the thing is, there was no chemicals then. There was a natural soil, like the microbes, the natural bacteria in the soil, which now is getting so depleted from all the chemicals we use. So, I shouldn't have a job to be doing forest bathing. It's in our, this whole biophilia, our natural inherent connection to nature. It's in us. you know, but unfortunately our society is built around more urban areas than it is more forest areas. So
yeah,
we're losing that connection.
It's so true. Like, you know, a child, like when they see the leaves falling off the ground, like off the trees and onto the ground, all they want to do is just run in and kick the leaves. You know, they want to dive in there and just get stuck into it. And that's an instinct that I don't think we lose. We just quieten it down as we get older. So like, just allow yourself, you know, give yourself permission to do it. Isn't
Completely. And it's the same with puddles, you know, that fascination of jumping into puddles, and we don't let them. Yeah. So it's, we have to follow their lead, I think.
Yes, exactly. I came across this Finnish study. I just adore when studies come up and they prove things, so you can kind of be like, well, there's proof of that, that's fact. Like, so that like the forest floor has improved children's immunity. So they did this like 4-week kind of study, and they had like a controls and everything. It was like so well done. And they did like blood tests at the end, and they saw that, like you're saying, those bacteria from the trees and the dead leaves and everything, like it just increased their immunity. Like their immune system was just unbelievable at the end of it. And it's scary
too, about they injected the bacteria from the soil into people with lung cancer, and saying how it boosts your immune system. It's incredible. Yeah. And it's funny because when we see children dirty, we try to clean them up, but when I do the forest school with the children, I'm just delighted when I see they have their head to toe in dirt, because it's the best thing for them.
Yeah, it sure is. And it's making me think about the way we are right now, and how, like, I know, like I go to the shops or I go to school and I see parents and they're scrubbing their kids' hands with the hand sanitizer. Like, what is going to be the result of this, you know, coming out of it the other end? And it's quite scary, really, to think about it, because all those kind of important bacteria are being removed by these, you know, hand sanitizers.
I think that's why it's important that, you know, all we can do is really just stay connected and go outside and keep getting dirty.
Yeah. And like, you know, that's something that we're permitted to do even in level 5 lockdown. You know, we're allowed to just get into nature. There's no one stopping us. It's perfectly fine, you know. So that is exactly it. It's just like, you know, it's the counter you know, the counteract of it, like, you know, just to really go outside. So you've done the forest therapy and the forest bathing. You said one more, I think there was 3. Forest school. So tell us a little bit more about what you're used to. You've one in Galway, correct? And one
I've left Galway, so now it's more based in Killarney. So my colleague still has Down to Earth Forest School in Galway, and then I opened up the Nature Hub here in Killarney. So so forest school I started 5 years ago. Actually, it's after I finished my art therapy training, I discovered forest school. So that kind of took me away from the art therapy for a little while. But so forest school started in Ireland 7 years ago. I started in the East, training in Wicklow, and then I did the first training in Galway 2015. And it just completely just was like, of course, that yes, like this, it just had so many aha moments, and this is so right. And it's you know, it's a practice that started really in Scandinavia in the 70s, and it actually started because the women were allowed to go back to work in the workforce in the early 70s, and the schools and the creches got so full because all the moms are going back to work and they had no more space for the kids, so they actually just started taking them outside and then seeing them, oh, look at this is amazing. So then this is kind of how it all started, and it's really based on the theories of Steiner and of Montessori, and there's a lot of theoretical grounding and basis behind the practice. But it's quite simply child-led outdoor play, but with an emphasis on risk. We really emphasize creating risk in the forest for the children to explore their own innate ability to know how far they can go, because we stop children from exploring any risk now. We say, no, it's dangerous, no, it's not safe. So, you know, what happens when they do that? The children get more curious and they want to go, but then what happens is they don't know their boundaries, they don't know how far they can go. So, you know, if we say, no, you can't climb that tree, you know, they don't know if they can or not. So if they can try and they can't do it, that's fine. Then they can try again next week, and maybe it takes them a year to climb the tree, or maybe they can do it in a week, but at least they can try and know their own abilities. But when we stop them from taking that risk, there's research done actually, if they don't take risk when they're younger, it's when they're older and teenagers, that's when they start, maybe experimenting with drugs, driving really fast cars, doing more dangerous things because they don't know their own limits. So it's really great to explore risk. Like we do knife skills, like from ages 1, we give them knives and saws and drills, and obviously in a supportive, safe, and with the adult support, but they're able to see the tools have a positive use, that it's not a weapon, and also how to use it safely. So it's really about risk and child-led and following a child leads, which I see challenging, because I do toddler groups for parents for their children from ages 1 to 4, and I see the parents find it challenging to sit back there. They'll do the craft for the child, or they'll get the child whatever, and I'm like, well, let's just sit back and let them explore it. So it's great for the parents to actually learn how to be with their children outside, because some of the parents find that challenging.
Yeah, of course it is hard, because you just want to, it's like that control part of you, I suppose. You just want to make sure that everything's okay for your child.
Yeah, it's a safety thing. It's funny how it skipped, when I was growing up, there was none of that. So there's something, definitely shift happened. It's more of the safety generation. So it's just important to obviously, the child's safety is very important, but it's also allowing them to open up a little bit of space to explore that space.
Yeah, there's like this joke coming to me that, like, a stand-up comedian made, and he's like, an Australian guy, and he lived in England and Ireland and in Amsterdam for a while, and he's like comparing Amsterdam, you're cycling along, is your bike wet? Well, you're in the wrong bit, you're in the canal, whereas like, it's too late, you're in the canal, like, whereas in England it's like, don't go in the water, big sign, safety first, all this kind of stuff. And it is that, it's just like, common sense kind of gets lost in it as well. Like, it's like, you don't get to know your boundaries, your limits. No. And then you don't know what's kind of common sense. It's kind of lost as well.
Yeah.
It's really.
And I think it's got, when I think back to my grandparents, there was so much space, there was less danger around them, there was just so much wide open spaces. There's a great map that I saw in forest school that was showing, like, I think it was like the late 1800s, of where this boy, the radius of where he was allowed to roam on his own, and it was like miles and miles of, open space landscape. And then they showed a picture or a map of where his children were allowed to go, and it was much smaller. And then they showed where his grandkids, and it was literally the grandkids were allowed a radius of one garden or block. But it shows, because around that area now is all buildings and motorways, and it's not the same big field that it was when he was growing up. So there is more danger and less open urban green spaces around, to let the children be free. So yeah, it's really important, I think, to get those green spaces back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's getting harder and harder as urban sprawl is just getting wider. Like, I'm in Kildare, but like, it feels like I'm in as much as Dublin City. Like, it's just crazy how many houses are popping up. But yeah, I suppose there is, another demand for it, I suppose, but it's hard one. But yeah, I guess, we all have so much stress and anxiety at the moment. We really can do with this, like, I suppose, what would you say to people that are feeling kind of stressed, and there's a lot going on in the house, like work's at home now, so it's like, it's a really good opportunity to kind of get out into it. Like, would you recommend them going out to the local park or woods, like, for 2 hours a week, or like?
Yeah, I mean, I think like, looking at people who have less time and more constrained with abilities to go, like, a big thing for me is, of course, I really believe in being in the woodlands and being in big open spaces, but I'm blessed to live in such a place that I can do that so easily. But people who live in the cities and have less green space to go to, I would really recommend for them to find a nice quiet place in their garden, or even in their local area where they live, even just a tree, even just planting a seed and watching it grow, something really small and simple, to put less stress of having to go to this big, beautiful Phoenix Park woodland, which might be a big trek to get to, So keeping a nature journal is so lovely. Even one day, there's a study, it's called 3 Good Things About Nature. So they say just every day to write 3 good things about nature you see. So, the sun keeps my skin warm, the snow, makes me feel vibrant, or, just really just thinking, and every day writing 3 good things about nature. At the moment, I'm doing the Irish bird survey, which is great. I just downloaded it online. And so for a few minutes each day, I'm just looking at what birds are around in my garden and making notes of them. So just ways to connect to nature in a really simple way, you know, even going outside and being aware of what smells can you smell in your garden. If you don't have a garden, even your patio or your balcony, and house plants are fantastic, you know. So really allowing ways to incorporate people who don't have access to really bringing nature into their house and into their lifestyle a bit more, you know. Even essential oils had to have in their home, maybe foraging for some natural herbal teas to have. So really simple steps to increase that connection. And then when they do get the chance to go into our bigger woods, maybe they'll feel more of a connection then, you know.
That's so good. They're like incredible examples, really. And yeah, it's interesting because, you know, planting a seed and watching it grow, kids love that, you know, and they love the idea that they were the one to feed it, you know, to
Completely.
make sure that the sun is shining on it, you know, that it's getting enough light. So like, what a perfect Christmas gift for any child.
Really?
Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I mean, I put an avocado seed in. I remember it was the first week of lockdown. I put an avocado seed in the soil, and now it's this massive tree. Like, it's massive, and so that's been with me since the beginning of lockdown in March until now. So I feel like we're growing together. It's just gorgeous, you know. So yeah, they're great gifts. I have some acorns germinating that I'm giving as presents so people can grow their own little oak trees. Yeah, beautiful little gifts to give to family members, and you know, it's going forward, and there's no waste, you know, and it's something you can watch growing together.
Yeah, it's magic. Yeah.
Mm.
There's a lot of I suppose a lot of discussion about it. And I came across this book, and I can't remember for the life of me what it is now, but I think it's like the diary of a naturalist.
Oh
Did you hear
yeah,
this? He's a,
yeah, great.
yeah, this teenage boy. I think he's just 16 now, but when he was writing it, I think he was 14, 15 and 16. And it's just his diary, like you said. And he'd write down maybe a paragraph or so every day, and it might be that just connection with the walk that he did, like a solitary walk. And it's just gorgeous, like, you know, just to think that, like you said, follow their lead, you know. And I think that's a really nice way of doing it as well, just writing
Oh,
down things.
completely. Yeah, because they have such imagination and curiosity, you know. So, and the great practice that we do in forest school and forest bathing is having a sit spot. So, there's a naturalist in America, John Young, who, yeah, is a real advocate for having a sit spot. He said he learned most of his naturalist knowledge just from having a sit spot every day. So, just a place in nature to sit and be. So, you know, it can be the front garden, it could be on your balcony and watching, you know, what birds are around you and present, flying through the sky near your house or your subdivision or where you live. So yeah, and so every day you're going to the same spot for 20 minutes a day, and observing what's around you. So it's this whole thing about, you know, it's not just, we're not alone, we're part of something bigger. I think is really helping with, I definitely, with this sense of anxiety, is that, you know, we're part of something, you know, because when people get low, they feel that they are all alone. But if they're connected to nature, they realize, oh, I'm part of this. We are this, you know. So it definitely helps with that loneliness.
Yeah, that disconnect, like, that we feel right now, like, whether it be because we're not going into the office, let's say, for some people, or whatever it might be, your life has kind of changed and it's a little bit more isolated, I suppose, that you can exactly connect with the bigger picture, connect with your community, connect with your locality. Yeah, exactly.
And I think when we connect, then that's when we give back to this whole reciprocity and compassion, because there's so much destruction and we're, you know, knocking down so many trees and killing so much wildlife. But if we realize we're part of this, then slowly we'll start minding it more and in being caretakers again of the land, you know. So it's, I think it's this whole cycle of, we can't really save the world yet until we actually realize that we're part of it, you know, and then slowly build up that that connection again.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And it's so simple, really, isn't it? Like, and another person then to mention is Greta Thunberg, and how much she's done, and again, another young person leading the way.
Yeah, I just watched her documentary, actually. I am Greta. It was, yeah, really amazing. It's incredible that the footage they had it from the first day of her protest
Right.
or her
Yeah.
strike in Sweden. And
Yeah.
so it was, yeah, and the pressure she had, it was just, yeah, at some point of the footage was really sad to see. Literally the whole world was on her shoulders, you know, everyone was expecting her to make this step. And yeah, so yeah, but she's incredible. That one, it just shows you that one person, what it can do, the changes it can make, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, huge changes. So what's in the future for you then, for the next couple of months leading up to spring and summer?
What's in the future? Well, I've just started I'm doing a year-long, I'm really into the Celtic calendar and the Celtic cycles. So I've started a year-long Celtic nature program. So I'm taking the same group of people out every Celtic season. So we started in Samhain, and well, we didn't do it obviously in person because of lockdown, but we're going to meet now for the winter solstice in December, and then we'll for the journey the whole year until the autumn equinox every 6 weeks out in nature. So we'll do nature, art and poetry, and forest bathing walk. And then I'm partnering with a play therapist. So we're going to be doing like a therapeutic play and art skills in the outdoors, because children are just going through a lot of an immense amount of stress and anxiety and uncertainty with children. So we're going to do group therapy sessions in the outdoors with children, which is so important. And then I'm doing more 6-week interventions for stress and anxiety in Tralee. And then, yes, we're doing forest school training and forest bathing training. So I would even look at my diary. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's going to be a busy spring. So but very exciting because, you know, I feel so blessed. I mean, obviously COVID is really challenging, but I have a lot of work from it because all my work is outdoors. I'm never inside. So I've been able to work mostly the whole way through because I'm able to take groups outside. So it's a blessing, and people are realizing the importance of getting out, and you know, during lockdown everyone was outside. All our natural parks were full, the woods were full. So you see people needed it. People went to that for solace. So it's you know, it's quite simple that it's what we need, you know.
Absolutely, it is exactly what we need. I just wish you well. That like everything you've got going is just so healing, and I'm sure everyone that goes to your workshops and your schools have such a benefit from it. Like, it's incredible, and then they get to spread the word and spread it, like spread that spread the news.
Can I read a poem? I don't know, have you read the book Losing Eden?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, you can put that on your book list for this
I
Christmas.
will.
Incredible book. It's this woman in England, and she was pregnant, and she was just really seeing a destruction in the world, and she's like, she's a journalist, and but she wrote this book, and as you can see from my, like, I just went through,
that's
so
a good book.
it's all the research of the benefits of nature but it's just so well written, and it's her story, but she really delves into the research in a really lovely way. But anyway, there's an excerpt from it that I just wanted to read because I love it. And I actually read this excerpt in my Instagram post during lockdown, and I tagged Lucy, and then she thanked me, and she messaged, her husband's from Ireland. So
oh wow,
she's just so lovely, and she's always doing great webinars and great talks. So yeah, but it's just a lovely, and I have it tagged, and she goes, Kerry, that's the last thing. It's in the middle of the book, but it's the last thing that she wrote, and she inserted it into the book. I'm like, oh, it's my favorite part. So it's just so lovely. So we may have forgotten, but how could it not be? The adorable, terrible, leaky, stinky, gooey, glimmery, furry, bloody, swoony, shimmery, thumping majesty of the earth. The very earthiness of it. It claws, it kicks, it rots, it ruts, it squawks, it squeals, it chomps, it bursts. What a wild and mind-bending disco there is on the earth. If only we could look and take notice.
oh, so beautiful.
That's so lovely. So yes,
oh
that's a nice way to end.
That's so beautiful.
That's from Lucy Jones. So it's her book Losing Eden, Why Our Minds Need the Wild. And yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's a great book to get you through the winter.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm definitely, Santa better bring that. That's amazing. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is fabulous. Yeah. Gosh, that's so beautiful. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, Kerry. Like, this has been just absolutely gorgeous. And
me on, and yeah, great podcasts and ideas that you're doing. It's so good to get the word out there, and what other people are doing, you know, the different aspects of therapy, and you know, where else it can be, and because everyone gets support in different ways. So yeah, well done. It's a lovely platform.
Yeah, like you need to take a holistic approach on things, you know. You need to take snippets and bits and bobs, what suits you, you know. Yeah, That's it. Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Vicky.